In this video, we are going to have a closer look at the academic poster. So we will provide you with a short overview of why posters are such an effective method of communication, but we'll also provide you with a couple of tips and tricks on how to start your poster and how to make it, and considering some do's and don'ts that go into an effective poster. Posters can be used for a broad variety of goals, so they could either be for a form of assessment, as a conversation starter regarding a project you've done, or maybe if you go to a scientific conference. So there's a whole range of things you could use posters for, but for the purpose of this video, we will focus on the academic use. So you might know that academic posters are being used more and more within the academic community to present either research information or any other information, because they're able to produce this in a very concise way. Because you have a poster, it's one single piece of paper that summarizes all of the information or research that you've done, and by using graphs and figures you can make it more attractive to draw in the people reading your poster and to stimulate discussions. However, unlike an oral presentation, your poster needs to be very concise and speak for itself. At a scientific conference, when you present a poster, a lot of the times you will be standing next to your poster, but there will be times that you're not there. So if someone reads your poster, then they should still be able to get all of the key messages, even though you're not there to explain additional information on the poster. So before you start working on your poster, you need to think about it and ask yourself a couple of key questions. The first one is, who is your audience? Because this will depend on the language, maybe some of the imagery and graphs you will use. Because if you're presenting to the lay public, of course, you will need to use more lay terminology and not that many scientific terms. However, you're doing a presentation for academics or professionals, you can include more scientific jargon. Also, what's your hook? What's your USP that will get you people coming to read and talk to you about your poster? So how can you make it look nice and be catchy? But with that, also think about what's the purpose of your poster. Do you want it to communicate a specific answer to a research question you've done, or do you want it to start a discussion? So all of those things you want to consider before you actually start putting together your poster. Once you've thought about this and you've answered most of these questions, you can start planning your poster. And for an effective poster, you need to think about a couple of things. Because it most of the times is printed on A0 paper, it needs to be legible from about 2 to 3 meters. And this is the main body of the text. Your main title, of course, needs to be bigger and needs to be able to be read from about 5 to 7 meters away, because people might be walking quite a distance away and you still want them to be able to see your poster and then attract them in. That's why you also always want to make sure that your poster has a good title that captures the essence of your research, but also that captures the attention of the reader. So try to keep it as short as possible, but still concise in what you're going to talk about. And again, as previous, use the right language for your audience. So if you do one type of specific research and you want to present it to academics, but a week later to the lay public, you might have to make 2 different posters. And also you want to make sure that there's enough white space so the poster doesn't seem cramped, and avoid using clip arts that you find in Word or PowerPoint too much, because they can make your poster look not very professional. But we'll give you a couple of examples from that in the next few slides. Something else when making your poster, you want to have a good think about the text flow, on how you organize the text and graphs on your poster, because you want the text to flow. And with that we mean that when someone reads your poster, it's a logical sequence on how to read your poster, and you don't have to go looking for the next logical section. And with that, we know people tend to read from top to bottom and left to right. So on the slide here, you can see two different types of posters, one in landscape and one in portrait. The landscape posters tend to have 3 or 4 columns, and with those you want to organize them with, at the top left, have your abstract introduction, and then have the logical flow from top to bottom, and then from the columns from left to right, providing all of the information. Similarly, if you make your poster in portrait, you want to have most of the times only 2 columns, but then again start at the top left hand side with your abstract and finish at the bottom right hand side with your reference list. When you're making a poster, always make sure that all of the information you want to convey is on this poster. Don't use separate sheets of A4, for example, to print your reference list on it. Make sure even your reference list and your conclusions all fit on the same poster. So in the next couple of slides, we'll have a look at some of the things you want to do or that you don't want to do. So one of the main things we see with posters is that they are very confusing. So they tend to have a large body of text, which you don't want. You want to be concise and write as little as possible. What you write, you want to use a font that's big enough for people to read, again, from that 2 to 3 meters distance, because if someone has to come right up to your poster to read it, they probably won't. Similarly, where graphics can be very good to make your poster more attractive, if they're too complicated or sometimes too colorful or too many graphs going on, which also can be a deterrent for people to read it. So keep it simple. Same with that, with the text. Do not mix justified, centered, or left aligned text when you're writing your main body of text. So for this, I would recommend always use left aligned text or justified. Do not use centered text or a combination of the differences. And by using different types of headings, so stating abstract, introduction, methods, results, conclusion, references, your poster will become a lot clearer and will also help the reader with the flow. So this poster is a good example of having too much text on it with very complicated graphs and figures, but also the text is too small, it's hard to read, it's a mixture of justified, left to right aligned, right aligned, so it's very complicated to read. So this isn't a poster that's very inviting to step up to. Furthermore, with posters, you want to make them attractive and colorful. But again, this is a narrow margin as well, because you don't want to make it too much. Therefore, we always say avoid rainbow colors. When you use colors, use solid colors and do not use more than 2 to 3, sometimes maybe 4 different colors, just so it's not too overpowering. Similarly with that, do not use any clip art or cartoon images you might find standard in Word or PowerPoint, because they can make your poster look a little bit amateuristic. Also, with your text boxes, Do not put any figures or letters or anything behind the text because they can make reading the text in that box a little bit more difficult. And examples of these don'ts you can see on this poster. It's good that it has the bluish background, but the rainbow color title is a bit much. Similarly with the letters behind the text boxes, which will actually are a little bit confusing on what's going on. And the images are good because they underline what is actually said in the specific text box, but because they look very cartoony, they don't seem very professional. And I'm sure you'll be able to find better pictures when you're just doing a Google search. So these are some of the don'ts. When we then start thinking about what you want to do, what a good poster looks like, you'll probably already notice, so you want to have a clear title with good subheadings, have a logical flow to your poster, and be consistent with your alignment and your colors. And if you use images, use a good quality image. And similarly with charts and graphs, it's good to have them, but try to keep them as simple as possible. And the use of text boxes are actually also very good to create that additional white space within the poster to make the poster more appealing. So this is something we can see on this poster, where it's fairly simple with a good clear title. Below your title, always you want to put in the people who made the poster and some contact details. And furthermore, you can see there's very clear headings within each text box, so you know what you can find in each text box. And there's a logical sequence from top left to bottom right with all the important information in there. So again, a quick head-to-head of the do's and don'ts. So you want to create good clear headings with as much white space as possible, clear graphs and text, and a logical sequence, and not have your poster with too much white space, for example, and too small text or different sizes text one after the other. Furthermore, these are just a couple of additional do's and don'ts that you're probably already aware of, but which are good to consider while making your poster. When you go online, it's very easy to find a lot of examples of good posters online, or you could create your own with using text boxes in PowerPoint, which tends to be the easiest way. But this is a very generic template I have created with all the information that needs to go on there, with a clear room for the title, the author, affiliations with contact addresses, and then different text boxes for each different section. And I hope you found this video useful, and this will be able to help you in creating your own scientific poster.